in Shaar Gimel, Para Gimel. But I don't want to learn that. What I want to do, because I think it'll help us understand things. I want to tell you my ongoing chashash. My ongoing chashash is that it's very easy, I find, to get carried away in an esoteric world, or even a world of physics, which is the opposite of esoterica, and not understand Hashem in this. And Agav, like, physics is very esoteric. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's even though it's called physics. But what I'm saying is that, I don't like the comparison to the sugya of quantum physics for two reasons. Number one is I don't understand quantum physics. Maybe you probably do, but I'm not that well educated. But number two is the little bit I understand, I don't think it's the same shiloh. But I think it's similar and it's a mushroom. So what I'd like to do, just to make it more for the case of juxtaposition than anything else, is I want to learn this one parak of Tanya, and where the Tanya is throughout, but in the two main paragraphs or passages of the Tanya are here in the Chelek introduction. If you're not a Tanya guy, Tanya. Kehillat Aleph, Kehillat Bais. Kehillat Bais is called Shaar HaYichud VeHaEmunah. Kehillat Aleph is sefer shel Beinonim. He himself didn't call it Shaar HaYichud VeHaEmunah. He called it sefer Chinuch Katan. That's what he called it. But I just want to point out something here before we learn this, that the Nefesh Hachaim, I mentioned this, the Nefesh Hachaim works with a seder that in the first Shaar, he speaks about Adam and our power and our koach and how we in this world can manipulate the entire Shemayim. Yes, does it ring a bell? Shaar Aleph is all about how every Maisa we do here is doing something in Shemayim, and the Yerushalayim Shalmala is affected by the Yerushalayim Shalmata. It was all about the Sarusa de Lasato. So it means to say that, in other words, the Chorban Beis HaMikdash, by the time that Titus came to be Macher, the Beis HaMikdash, says the Nefesh Hachaim. So there was a whole thing before that, but before that was we were violating, we were doing Averos, Aschinam, etc. That changed the Yerushalayim Shalmala, because that evaporates straight up, and that came down in Titus. So Ad Kedei Kach, that the Gemara says that when Titus destroyed the Beis HaMikdash, it was a straw house, which is very important for our lessons. So that's the first Shaar of the Nefesh Hachaim. Second Shaar of the Nefesh Hachaim is how does this Adam that we just described connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? And there he speaks about tefillah and brachos, which we spent months on. In Shaar Gimel he talks about, so you have 1, 2, in Shaar Gimel we're talking about Hashem itself. Not us, not our kesher, what is Hashem? And gets into a much, I can't say more interesting question, but a question of what is the world? What is existence? What is, so in the yeshivish world, they say a lot of times, like comes up in learning, that, but that's not the Metzias. What's the Metzias? So Metzias means, what does Metzias mean? How would you translate that? What? What's Monsey? So, it's not the Metzias. So the Metzias is, you can't argue with the Metzias. That's a klal in halacha. You can't argue with the Metzias. Like halachically, Yad Soledes is hot, less than Yad Soledes is cold. Metzias is you put your finger in less than Yad Soledes and you burn yourself. So there's a Metzias. According to the inyanim that we're learning now, we're discussing the Metzias itself. Is there such a thing altogether as a Metzias? What does it mean? And Metzias, that word, existence, this is the first Rambam in its full glory. That Chayav Adam Lahamin Sheish Matzui Echad V'hu Mamsi Kol HaMetzias. Everything that's matzui is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'hu HaMatzui HaYechidi, says the Rambam. And if the whole world of Im Tedama B'nafshecha, says the Rambam, if you would think for a moment that the whole world doesn't exist, so then it doesn't make any difference. Hashem would who Dayan Matsui, he would still exist. And if you'll think for a minute that Tadamo and Nafshecha, that Hashem doesn't exist, Ein Kol Matsui b'Metzias Klal. So everything's all about Metzias. The whole thing is about the Metzias, So, in Hebrew we talk about Metziuti. So the question, or the subject of Shaar Gimel of Nefesh Hachaim should be clear to us, is we're describing Hashem vis-a-vis the Metzias of this world. What is it? The Tanya has a little bit of a different mahalach, because in Kehillat Aleph of the Tanya, it's also divided into four. But in the Kehillat Aleph of the Tanya, the Tanya speaks about the avodas ha'adam. What if I have more mitzvahs and averos? What's a beinoni? What's the Yetzer Hara? Avodas ha'adam. And after all, it makes sense, because sefer Chasidus is, the whole idea is to make that everything is avodas ha'adam. There is nothing but avodas ha'adam. The only thing that's important to us is avodas ha'adam. So that's his first chapter, but it's not that dissimilar to the Nefesh Hachaim, who speaks about the power of an adam. It's a similar type of a thing. In the second chelak, which is called Shaar HaYichud Ve'Amunah, which I just want to learn this one passage today. Shaar HaYichud Ve'Amunah, he doesn't speak about the avodas ha'adam, but he talks about the tashtit, like the infrastructure of the world. What is the world that we live in? Which is what we've been talking about in Shaar Gimel. So really what Shaar Beis and Shaar Gimel is the Tanya Chelak Aleph Chelak Beis. Is this meaningful to you? I just want to bring out the structure of how the whole thing works and how to think about it. It's really Shaar Beis, Tefillah, and Avodah, and Shaar Gimel. And here in the Shaar Yichud Ve'Amunah, I wish everybody had a copy, but he says as follows in Perek Gimel. It's not a long parak. Hinei acharei hadvarim v'emes ha'eleh. After I've just described, what he described was that, very similar to the Nefesh Hachaim, that the world is not created once and then Hashem walked away from it. What's important to understand is that Hashem is constantly creating the world. That's an important yesod, according to everybody. The important yesod is that whatever this table is, it's a Metzias, it's not a Metzias, it's constantly being created and recreated by HaKadosh Baruch Hu every millisecond. That's for sure. That's for sure. And therefore, by the way, there's no real problem, if you will, with a miracle happening, because it's Keneged HaTeva. Hashem did us a favor by giving us Teva. It's a favor. It's a chesed from Hashem, because imagine the table would not be recreated 1 second. All of a sudden, this would be a hippopotamus. So the whole world would be unpredictable. So you can predict science. Science is the predictability of nature, and part of science. And the fact that Hashem creates everything the same way as He did a second ago, for the most part, is a chashuv chesed. Teva is a chesed. If somebody wants to relax, you take a nature walk. You take a walk in nature. Teva, walk in nature. Imagine that Teva. What's so relaxing about it? Because olam kiminhagay hoylech. Look how beautiful it is. The river is flowing, and the mountains are there, and the clouds are there, and the birds are chirping, and it's a beautiful thing. Let's say all of a sudden you're taking a nature walk, and the river starts going the other direction, or it turns into blood. So this would not be very relaxing. It would be surreal. It would be a nightmare. So Teva, the fact that there's some predictability to our lives and to the world, is a good thing. However, it's not a difficult thing, so to speak, for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to change it and do a nes, because it just has to change, adjust the chomer of creation for that 1 second. Poof, you have Kriyas Yamsuf.
What happens on Shabbos?
What happens on Shabbos?
There's a creation.
There's still Teva.
Hashem.
No. But it's a mistake that people make. That it's not that Hashem stopped creating and recreating the world on Shabbos. He stopped creating anything new on Shabbos. There's nothing new, meaning the bria stopped. There's no chiddush. Continues to be sustained. Maintenance is there. In other words, we're on Shabbos, we're allowed to eat. We're not. Rav Hirsch is Meirich in this Nekuda, and right there in Bracious, and he says that it's the whole avodah of Shabbos is not to be machadish. is not to create something new. You make a fire, you're creating something new. That's the whole, Ad Kedek, every malacha, all lamitas malachas are creating something new. Ad Kedek Kach, he says that when the only time, you'll enjoy this, the only time you're not creating something new, l'chayra, is haitzah, when you take something from one rishus to another rishus. And on that, the Gemara says in Shabbos Daf Beis, the Gemara says avodah geruahi. It's a malacha geruahi. It's not a real malacha. But Rav Hirsch says that. But those that know that this one it's over here and this is over here. It's a different metzias. the makam of the thing changes the metzias gufa. But so Hashem creates, recreates on Shabbos 24/7. Chas v'shalom, HaKadosh Baruch Hu would cease to create the world. Umamsi kol animsayim. Period. Now, that's what the Balatanya said until now, and I think we all have to agree with that. B'hinei achrei hadvarim v'emes ha'elu. Once we understand that, kol maskil al davar. Anybody who thinks about this, yavin la'ashura, will understand clearly. Eich shekol nivra v'yesh. Now let's be careful with everything that we've learned in the last couple of weeks in the Nefesh Hachaim. Let's now be medayik in these words intelligently. Kol nivra, everything that's created, right? This is a nivra. So kol nivra, v'yesh, everything which is a metzias, right? Everything that exists. Hu be'emes, in truth, nechshav, this thing here is nechshav la'ayin ve'efes mamish. It's really not here. Does that sound like the Nefesh Hachaim? Yeah. It's not really here.
What's the Nechshav doing
there? Legabe, I got better than Legabe, in comparison to relativity, in comparison to koyach hapoyel v'ruach piv, that which is giving it existence, and the ruach piv shebenifal hamahavel. Say this. We're looking at this and we're saying it's a cup of water. But in reality, it's much more than a cup of water, and it's not even a cup of water. That's nothing. The fact that it's a cup of water is nothing. What's important here is the Ruach Piv Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is causing it to exist.
Is that just a restatement of the Ramat, isn't it?
Well, I hope not. Hamahavo is a tamid, umaytziyai, and it's that Ruach Hashem, this the Rambam doesn't say, is that Ruach Hashem, which takes it out of the category of ayin, may ayin mamish liyesh. In other words, why are we looking? I'm just saying a davar pashat that like we all think we see light, but you don't really see light. Yeah, I mean, if you want to say what is that thing existentially, and I think that the Balatanya is not a philosopher, so this has to become mamish avodas Hashem. But if you say that existentially, this is a cup of water and this is a book, he says you're missing the main thing of it. You're seeing just the al tistako b'kankan el b'mashi yesh bo, as he's saying. Why are you seeing it that way? So understand that this is all like the energy of Hashem, which is causing it to exist. It's does it have some kind? Does it look like a book? It looks like a book, but that's the least. What he's saying is that's the least important part of this book. Okay, so leave the Rambam for a second. We'll compare. So it's the energy of Hashem. Umashakol nivra v'nifal. So the words, because I want to concentrate. Mashakol nivra v'nifal nira lanu liyesh. The fact that everything that was created looks to us like something, it's something. You can examine it, you can take it apart, you can build it, rebuild it, destroy it. Right? It's something. Mamish, it seems to exist, right? This phone cost $1,000. It exists, right? Something exists here. Zehu, the only reason it looks like something, says the Balatanya, Zehu machmas she'enonu masigin v'royim be'enei basar, with our fleshika eyes, we can't see as koach Hashem v'ruach piv shebenivra. And here's the key. We don't see the ruach Hashem which is in it. This is the key word, which is in it. Yeah. Shebenivra. Avol ilu nitna reshus. La'ayin lirois. If we would have permission to see, or let's say like this, let's say we would all of a sudden be handed by Eliyahu Navi a pair of glasses that allows you to see the world as it is. So the last thing, it's like, a mashal, everything's a mashal because who knows what the nimshal is. But it's like, you can look at somebody, you look at a person and say, he's a big person, he's a small person, nice person, he's a good person, strong person, weak person, old person, young person. You can say all those things. But you're not really getting to the essence of the person. In other words, if you talk with that vocabulary, you're talking in a very superficial level, which is very useful to talk in a superficial level. But if you're talking deeply, what am I? You're going to define me by my height, by my size, even by my brain power. There's so much more. And this is, we were talking on Shabbos about this, that the Piasetzner writes, to define a Navi by the fact that he says Nevuah is completely wrong. A Navi, he says in the Mavei Shiurim, a Navi is something much more than, a Navi is something that he does. That's not something what he is.
Is that what Rabbi Yochai saw when he came out of the cave?
What, some kind of a reality.
Some kind of a different...
Yeah, I think that I have a feeling like this, that let's say there's malachim. We believe in angels. There's malachim. So let's just say a malach is looking at this world. It's a malach. Gabriel, Michal, choose your malach. Is looking at this world. I don't think he's saying the same thing that I don't think that malach sees the same thing that we see. It's a whole different thing. Just like lahavdol of havdol. I'm not making a comparison. Like, does a dog see the same thing we see? You'll never know. Every. I'm saying that, not forget the dog. The malach. No, I'm saying that I'll tell you what the context is. Just because we see something a certain way, who says that's the emes? A dog sees it in a much less way, I think, and a malach sees it in a much deeper way. Doesn't see the world as we see it. It's not a bria like we are to see things what we see. So which one is right? Who's right? So it's a stupid question. Who's right? It's not about a question who's right, who's wrong. It's one Messias to a malach and another Messias. But it's also one thing is the atzim of the zach, is the atzmius of the thing is a HaKadosh Baruch Hu's ruach. Ruach.
But so it's still bothering me is that you have this thing of consciousness on the entity that's seeing. One's doing the observing. That's the critical part of it.
Okay, but it's subjective to what I see.
Like
A Talmud Chacham sees something different than an Amaretz. Sees different, the idea. A Navi sees something different. That the Briskerov says in the Parsha of Navi, Elov Tishmon. He says Agav. Notice that he says that a Navi. It's not just he sees the future. He sees the Shemaim. He sees the Messias differently. It's a different Messias. He's like at the moment of Nevuah, he's like a malach. I'm convinced that a malach doesn't see things the way we see it. It doesn't have to deal in the dimensions that we see it, in the Messias that we see it. So, but okay, that's fair enough, L'Kula Alma. But what's interesting here is not what he's saying is that the Gashmias that you see, the cup, and even the water, is not really the Messias. The Messias is the Ruach Hashem, which is in it. And that's why he says later that everything has a neshama of some sort. Everything has a neshama, because without the neshama taich of neshama is the Ruach Hashem, which is in everything. Otherwise, it would not exist. Blade of grass. Every blade of grass has a neshama from a Hasidic point of view. By the way, this is, I would say, not only the Iker Machlekes between Hasidim and non-Hasidim, but this is the Iker, the contribution of Hasidus. Make no mistake, this is not like one little point. This is the Iker, not just Chabad. This is the Iker of Hasidus. The Iker of Hasidus is God and is in everything. And that's what he says here. That you see, the Chiddush is not that this doesn't exist. The Chiddush is that it does exist, but not as we see it. Because the Nefesh Hachaim told us that this doesn't exist altogether. It's just a movie. It's just a movie. But what the Baal Tanya is saying, of course it exists, but not as we see it. It's not a cup. It's not water. What is existing here is Hashem.
It's what you call it, in other words?
We call it based on our perception. So he says, if we would have the ayin lirais ulahasig, if we would have the glasses to see what this really is, right? Not a microscope, not a telescope, not a MRI, but you'd have the glasses to see what is it really? What is it really? So shebechol nivra ulahasig is achiyus v'haruchnius shebechol nivra hashefeya boy mimoitza pi Hashem, that everything is Hashem. V'ruach piv shebechol nivra hashefeya boy mimoitza pi Hashem v'ruach piv lo haya gashmius hanivra v'chumroi mamoshe nira klal leinenu. If we would have the eyes, accept my poetic license, if we would have the eyes of a malach, we wouldn't even see a cup of water here. Because that's just how it's looking to us humans, just like maybe a dog sees something different, and a chamor sees something different. I tell you something. What's fascinating to me all the time, just on a real life basis, is how every person sees things differently. People see them and see us differently. It's like the famous, is it half full, is it half empty? I mean, that's true of everything. Like, people see things and perception differently based on who you are, but it's ba'arech the same. And maybe there's an emes to it, scientific emes to the Metzias, but that's only a scientific emes, says the Baal Tanya, to the perception. And let me sound intelligent, to the behavior of that physical object. Based on what we see, you're going to die. Based on what we see, you're going to be alive. There's a gaiva to it, because what you see is only a mirage. It's not real, but that is the standard behavior, teva. It is teva. So let me just, before he gets too deep into it, I just want to finish the point. If I would have the eyes of a malach, lo'haya gashmius hanivra v'chumroi u'mamoshay nira klal. If I would have the way to see something more truthfully, I wouldn't even see the cup. Leinenu. Why wouldn't I see it? Ki hu batel b'metzius mamish legabe achiyus v'aruchnius shabai. You understand this? You don't see something which is batel. Do you see tam in a if it's pachas mishishim? Do you see that tam? You don't even taste the tam. So it's batel. The world is batel in its ikar, he says, of the Motzei Pi Hashem.
Why can a malach say the apple and the bracha of the apple? It turns out that the bracha is what will feed this neshama, that's what we submit, and physical apple is going to nourish the physical body.
Because he would see it, but it would be so unimportant. That's his point. He can see it. Like we can see a speck of dust here, but it's unimportant. It's unimportant to us. We won't even bother cleaning it. It's just a speck. So something which is batel. So like look in your day, like the klal is like a Baal Chai is never batel. A barrier or a bria is never batel. What's the pshat that is never batel? It is important, but something which batel means it's so unimportant that it doesn't, you're not machshav it like anything. So he's saying is that if we would see things correctly, look, isn't it true? I mean, there's 100 b'shalom and no emes here, but sometimes I had the dubious chus of talking to many people a few minutes before they died. Because I'm a rabbi. So as the rabbis do, talk to people before they die. I didn't kill them. I mean, it's not like it's yeah. It's not a joke because for a while, so I was doing this a lot, years ago, meaning I had a lot of older people in Buffalo, Holocaust survivors, and then older, people, World War I survivors. And once I walked into a guy's hospital room, And he looked at me and he says, "Oh, der Malach HaMavis is due."
Cheerful reading.
Okay, but the thing is like this, that already from like biblical times, throughout the Zman of the Gemara, people, there's a book written, famous last words. It's like somebody, the Gedolei Humas Ha'olam, like what was the last thing they said? Who cares what the last thing they said? Let's get to the Emsa when their mind was working. Okay, when they're kids, we don't care. Why do we care when they're incapacitated? The answer is there's a different. You see, everything in the world is so different. Everything in the world is completely different. A zaken is different than a tzayer. Do you know, like, if you talk to teenagers, so like everything is black and white. There's only two tzedadim. Okay, alone. Either it's right or it's wrong. Am I right? Anybody here have a teenager? Everything is like no, it's wrong. The older you get, the more mature you get, the more colorful life is, and it's not so pashut. This is a possibility. That's a possibility. It's a maturation of the mind, and when you talk to somebody who's at the very end, so there's no nogea b'davar here. There's no cognitive dissonance. You can hear like such an emes, and hence famous last words. You could hear such an emes which it sees the whole world completely different, almost like everything that we went through in life and everything goes on in the world is just hevel havalim Amar Koheles at the end of his life. So Dafka, just recently I went to visit somebody in Tel Aviv in that big hospital. What's it called? Herzog? Ichlov, yeah. I went to visit somebody, and he was old and relative. And, so I said to him, as is my habit, I said, so tell me something. What do you have to say? Like, I want to hear. He says, maybe he's 97 years old, this guy. He says, just so fast. It's just so fast. Just so fast.
What's your thing? Illness or
life? Like, you're going through something and the struggle, and that struggle, and I have a business problem, and this question, and that question, this whole Bais problem, phew, like, so this is like, Yom Kippur, it's like, just so fast. I walked out of there, like, whoa. Like, isn't it true that, at Shabbos, and then, you start the week, and then all of a sudden it's Shabbos, yeah. Like, it's Shabbos again. What happened at Shabbos? So, like, so there's a different, my point being, there's a different view, a different vision to somebody who's in a different place. So a Malach has even a different vision than that, Malach HaTchila. It's a different vision. A Vlad b'mei imai, says the Gemara. So many examples of this. A Vlad b'mei imai, a child before it's born. Roya me'soifa olam ad soifa olam. Nachon? A Vlad b'mei imai. It says sees me'soifa olam ad soifa olam, and it has like a light on his head to be able to see, like from one end of the world to the other end of the world. What's it? What? Hey, what? Also Adam Rishon, right? It's me'soifa olam. But every Vlad, you. Everybody had this time where, why? Because it wasn't a nivra yet. He wasn't a nivra yet, so he's still in an in-between stage between a neshama and a guf. And at some point, I believe the Maral says at 39 days, he's rayas ha'olam misayfa ha'olam at sayfa ha'olam. The Maral says that by Nida Daf Lamed and Chedushei Agados. At that point, because that's when the neshama comes in. The neshama comes into the body at 40 days. 40 days after conception. By the way, that's all the halachas of abortion and everything all begin there, which is fascinating for our learning here because what is ritzicha? I'm throwing out a lot of things here, but I know we can handle. What is ritzicha? What are you doing there? If I'm not real, so why not kill me? But it's the answer is you're separating the neshama from the guf. So back to the Tanya. I don't want to lose the thing. The two chidushim here is, one is the lesser chidush is, which we're spending time on, is that the gashmius is not really here. So far, I think everybody's on the same page. The bigger chiddush that he says is that the Ruchnius is here. God is here. That's what he says.
Is here?
Well, what's here? Yeah, here.
That's because if it's not there, there is something there. Right.
Right, it wouldn't exist.
Right. So I see whatever it is, maybe a cup, maybe light, but so God is there. If it's not the cup, it's not the physical cup, it's not reality.
But it,
Right.
Well, but when you say is here, Malcolm is a Bria. So
the only thing that's here, Yachasi, he says, and we've got to be careful, is God. But there's a cup here. So, okay, there's a cup there, but it's batel connected what's really here, but we're not able to see. So what's really here, we're not seeing. This is tricky, because what's really here, what's actually here, the reality of this is not even something that we can see. So apparently we don't have to see it. Now,
but does Malcolm exist?
well, this is the kasha. The kasha on him, which Reb Chaim Volozhin asks, is, okay, a person dies, the neshama goes away, and he's still there. Nobody saw anybody disappear, poof. He's still there. So you see that there's a metzius without neshama. And neshama is what he's talking about here. So it's kasha. But what he's saying, by the way, is very popular. It was very popular, and it's very comforting to think that God is in everything. Ad kedei kach, that what you're seeing is batel klapi, the real existence of it, which is God. It's nice, very popular. Every man has God in him. Everything is godly, and it's nice. And the only problem with it is it's possibly avodah zarah, because once you say God is here, we've got big problems. This is what's bothering Nefesh Hachaim. Once you say God is here, so then he's here. That means that he's here, and that means that he's there, and that means that maybe I should worship it. And that means you're God, that I'm God, that Hashem is a chalakim. Where's the echad? Where's the eino and milvadai? In my very, very humble opinion, I'm just saying this b'Torah Shela, the Nefesh Hachaim's kasha is better than his teretz. Like the kasha is so powerful that how can you say Hashem isn't anything gashmius? The pantheistic idea.
My understood is, are we saying that God is, in other words, it's God's will?
No, wait, will. I didn't say the word will here.
No, but Hashem is, that's what I mean, to translate it, Hashem is willing this thing to exist. I mean,
It didn't say anything about willing.
That's Ramah.
Yeah, he didn't say anything about ratzon. Ratzon is a different sugya. That's what you're saying. Let the words talk to you here. Shebechol nivra. If we would have the eyes to see, ulahasig, to see, es achius va'ruchnius shebechol nivra, the ruchnius which is in this cup. Hashofeya, what ruchnius? What is that? Hashofeya boy, which is poured into it. Mimoitze pi Hashem, not from his ratzain and not from his. It's poured into it. Shofeya boy mimoitze pi Hashem. In other words, basar mamoris nivra ha'olam. The world was created b'moitze pi Hashem, and when Hashem said Yehi or, his words are in that light. He's in that light because he can't make a chiluk. You can't make a distinction between him and his words. You can't do that. Then you're taking again away from the echad of Hashem. You gotta. It's tricky. It's tricky, but it's important. It's worth it for us. I'm telling you, it's worth it for us. So I find it so unfortunate that when I was a kid, 13, 14 years old, I learned the whole Tanya Baal Peh, all of it, and I knew it Baal Peh, and I recited much of it in front of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. He asked me, do I know Tanya Baal Peh? I said, yes. And he said, let me hear. And I said, 26 prakim. I said by heart, and then he stopped me from talking. 26 prakim. And he gave me $1. Great experience. Why do I say sad? Because
That's all I remember.
No. Because what did I know? What did I understand? You almost wonder, like chaval, that we didn't learn things when we were young. It's actually, if you didn't have the opportunity to learn things when you're young, in a certain way, you're better off, because you're looking at it with grown-up eyes. Because otherwise, we're stuck in our children's in our children's book. So it's you got to watch with the learning. But like if you want to, it's good. Like it's good to be about tshuva because you're looking at things freshly with adult eyes. So I looked at this, but I didn't know what I was talking about. But now I still don't know what I'm talking about. I'll try it again, and every 10 years I try again. But what he's saying over here is that it's the ruchnius in it. Let me just. If we would have those eyes, we wouldn't even see the gashmius. Why? Ki hu batal b'metzius. Listen to the words. Ki hu batal b'metzius mamish l'gabe achius v'aruchnius shabai. That's the reality. That's the metzius. Me'achar. Why is it batal? Me'achar. And this is the answer to your question. Shemi baladei haruchnius haya'ayin ve'efes mamish. If it wouldn't be for the ruchnius, it would be ayin ve'efes. Interesting, by the way, ayin is one thing, efes is another thing, and both words are used both together in the Nefesh Hachaim and in here, which we want to get to. It would be k'may koydem sheishis yimei breishis, before Hashem did anything. That's what it would be if Hashem took away his chiyus from it.
It's like sitting in the theater and you look at the projector rather than the screen.
Right, but right. But the thing is, the screen goes off, Really, if Hashem was not giving his power into this thing, it would be like Koydem Sheshim Mebreshis Mamish V'Aruchnius Hashefeya Alav Mimoitze Pi Hashem B'Ruach Piv Hu Levadoi Hamaitzioi Tamid Me Efes V'Ayin. What's taking this out from Efes and Ayin is that Hashem's is powering it and turning it into a yesh, into a reality. He's making it exist. Imkain Efes Biladoi Be'emes. And then he gives like a whole bunch of mishalim, the sun and the light, and but and he ends this parak Gimel with a question, which is very interesting. How he ends it with a question. He ends with a question. He says, "This is the last words of the parak." He says the question is, Lama einon betelim b'metzius, the bruim, the world that we see it. Lama einon betelim b'metzius l'makayram. That's how he ends off with a question. Why are we not all batal to the Borei Olam? Now, from this question, you can see a big Shitah. And the Shitah is, and the answer has to be tzimtzum. You're right. That's the next paragraph. But from the question, it's interesting. It ends with a question, and the question is, why are we even here? Like, why is there this this bria? So the first thing he's telling us that if not for Hashem, we wouldn't exist. Does Nefesh Hachaim argue with that? But with Hashem we do exist, because it's the Hashem within us that exists, and that's what the Malachim see, or the ones with the eyes see. Is that the same as Nefesh Hachaim? No, very different. Nefesh Hachaim says the whole world doesn't exist. You see the difference? Nefesh Hachaim says that the whole world, there is no reality. It's a movie. It's a dream.
They're both dealing with the same question.
Both dealing with exactly the same question, but they're giving a very different. And so he says, okay, the world wouldn't exist, and the only reason it exists is because Hashem is in it. The world doesn't exist. Nefesh Hachaim agrees. Of course, the world doesn't exist, because you can't say there's something other than Hashem. You can't say there's something other than Hashem. Let's just do the sikum with this. You can't say there's something other than Hashem. Einod milvado. So what do you have to say? There's only two ways. Either you can say that this is a reality because Hashem is in it. That means there's Hashem in this book. Or you could say the book doesn't really exist. It's much nicer to say that Hashem is in the book, but which, like the Tanya says, but it's says Nefesh Hachaim, it's philosophically incorrect, because Hashem can't be in anything, because then you're dividing him l'mechzel l'shlish l'revia, and you're saying that Hashem is in Gashmias, and the next thing you know, you can become a Christian, because the whole chiddush of Christianity is that Yeshua HaNotzri was a walking emanation of God. And it's possible to be God walking around as a human in this world.
Mamish.
Mamish. So the answer to this is, and that's why I say I think the kasha is better than the teretz. The kasha is whoa, you can't do that. You can't do that. It might be a nice idea. In fact, it attracted billions of people. Right? People like this idea. I mean, I'm saying this did not attract Lubavitchers. Like the whole world believes this. And add millions of people that are even Avodah Zarah. The whole India, the whole East, the whole West. Everybody is into this. Everybody's into this idea that there's hundreds of thousands of gods in India. That means that Hashem is in them. I mean, they know what the word God means. They worship them. They worship the people. They wash their feet. They daven to them. The people, whatever they say, they're worshiping.
Is that Shitah?
Was Avodah Zarah?
No, if you say that God is in this and that,
Okay, so Shitah, maybe. The thing is, Nefesh Hachaim doesn't like the whole thing. I just want to get that clear before we go home. Nefesh Hachaim doesn't like the whole thing. God is not in anything. Okay, so, and it can't exist. We have two premises here that are sefer ahadadi. One is that the world can't exist without God, and the other premise is that God can't be in anything. Forget about it. Okay, so how does the world exist then? If it can't exist without God, like the Tanya says, and God can't be in it, so how does the cup of water exist? Well, the Nefesh Hachaim says it doesn't. Simple answer: doesn't. You think it exists? Do we exist now?
Just redefining existence. What does it exist?
Could you say it's a perception?
But it might be just once you say it's a reality that God is a reality, then you can worship it. So you see, it's not you can't.
If that doesn't exist, and I don't exist, and nothing exists. So what are we talking? What are you doing here?
Right. Oh, the kasha. Thank you. The kasha the other way, like the Nefesh Hachaim's kasha is a bumble. it's a great kasha. Like if it's not just a philosophical question, like how can you say that the God is in this cup? How can you say it? On the other hand, if God is not in me, or if I don't exist, like the Nefesh Hachaim says, if that's your answer, so what does it mean I did an Aveira? What does it mean I did a mitzvah? What does it mean I did a chesed? I'm just part of a dream. So that's the kasha the other way. So we're stuck. We're stuck until we can find the emes to this. And like Reb Nachman says, that just forget about it. Reb Nachman says what he says. He says just forget about it. Like just do Avodas Hashem and just forget about it. That's what he says. Just do what you're supposed to do. That's all. What's the difference if you exist? Reb Nachman says, what's the difference if you exist? My nafkamina. That's what he says. I know that, by the way, the Tanya met with Reb Nachman. A very interesting, apparently historic meeting. That the Tanya was traveling from place to place, and he came to the place of Reb Nachman, and Reb Nachman came out to greet him. I don't think it was in Breslov; it was in a different place. And they came to meet him, and he invited him into his house, whatever that was. We know his house; we visited. And the Tanya wouldn't go into the house for some reason. A lot of these stories about him, right? He went in, and didn't go in. It was like, right. And they stood outside on the driveway there for a day, like from morning to night, talking about Tzimtzum. And they both walked away. It's very interesting because Reb Nachman walked away, and his Hasidim said to him, "So, what did you think about the Tanya?" So he said that there's a grace of Talmud Chacham. And the Chabadniks hate this story. Like, what a shtach. Talmud Chacham, you're a Talmud Chacham, I'm a Talmud Chacham. We're talking about big Talmud Chacham. That's the, so it's interesting, like the Lubavitchers don't exist. But this is a story. And the Balatanya apparently said, they asked him, like, what about Reb Nachman? He doesn't understand. Versteht nicht. Like that's okay. Man neu mer anon.
He didn't want to understand. He said you're not supposed to try.
He held it to steer it to Avodas Hashem.
We tried to understand before we decided
Let me tell you a last shita before you go home that Reb Shach explained. Reb Shach explained that this chelik, that it's impossible to understand, is exactly the place for Amunah. That's where Amunah comes in. There's what we understand, and you don't need Amunah. That's what we understand. You don't need Amunah. To understand this book, you don't need Amunah. What you need Amunah for, says Rav Shach, he writes this in the Avi Ezri, what you need Amunah for is for the part that you don't understand. It's like a leap of faith. That's exactly what Amunah is. And I'm scratching my head trying to think, is he saying like Reb Nachman? Is he saying about that? Is he saying like what's going on there? But that's like another shita. Okay, thank you. Please, everybody, come tonight if you can to Rav Asher Weiss's shiur. Besides for the godless of the shiur, it's very important for me and for the shul that we have a mechubad olam here.